Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 4th, and I am headed to my company's office in Edina, Minnesota. I'm going to take a slightly different route today. Had a couple viewers request going through downtown Minneapolis as much as I could, and so I'm going to try that on this route, even though I'm kind of headed towards the West Metro. We should be able to hit downtown along the way here, at least the very edge of it, and it should be pretty busy right now since we're kind of in the middle of rush hour. So we're going to kind of see how it does. Now, unfortunately, we have to cross one of our favorite intersections up here of 37th Avenue Northeast and Central Avenue Northeast. So we're going to have to kind of see how it does here. More than likely, it's going to try to get in the right lane. You see the tentacles already kind of wiggling around up there. I'm going to see if I can cancel the lane change this time. But one thing we're doing is the car is kind of already slowing down. We have somebody really closely behind us here. And I'm just pressing the throttle here, because it's starting to bug them, I think. And I'm going to cancel it. There we go. So I am pressing the throttle and canceling the turn signal here. Alright, no, and you can see the car's overriding me here, so I'm going to just disengage. Car continually tries to enter the right turn only lane to go straight. So that continues to be a disengagement for us. You know, honestly, it's super frustrating because it's literally like a quarter mile from my house, so I have to traverse this intersection almost every day. And you can see the sign right to our right there that if the car could read it, we would know that we are in the right lane by being in the left lane here. So honestly, only a couple FSD Beta releases have ever fixed that issue, and I'm going to re-engage as soon as I get through this intersection here. Alright. But yeah, 10.69.1 through 3 actually nailed that intersection perfectly. They would always get in the right lane. It was the first set of the only set of releases that ever properly addressed that issue. And then once we got to the 69 builds, or the 25 builds, it started to regress. And we're kind of back to that behavior that we had before, where the car would basically get really unsure and eventually just get in the wrong lane. So, again, my suspicion is, and I'm pretty confident of it, that it is due to map data. And the conflict you're seeing with the tentacle is the car going back and forth between what the vision system is thinking, probably the deep lane guidance module is part of that, and then what the map data is saying. What I'd love to know is, like, if there's some sort of automated way, if I'm disengaging constantly there, that the car then will eventually push some sort of data to Tesla and update the maps. The data that Green had just published would say yes, there is a method to do that, but it doesn't seem to be active, at least yet, in the Twin Cities. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that one day I'll just see that the car nail that intersection and be good from there on out. Because as you see, like, once you understand the science, it's not a hard intersection to traverse, but because of that conflict in map data and what the vision system sees, that's kind of where our issues, I think, lie. So we continue to kind of check for visibility here, even though we can see on both sides. The pillar cameras, while there's a post there, I continue to report that one. But the vision is good on both sides. It's a four-way stop, so we should be able to see anybody that would be at that intersection from that vantage point back there, and that would be true going the opposite way. But unfortunately, the car just takes its sweet time through that intersection every single time. And I can't understand why. I guess a suspicion I have is that driveway for the Zuccaro's produce back there, that's kind of really close to the, its outlet is really close to the intersection. And I think the car worries about that. But again, the snow's melted enough now where you can see clearly if there's a car coming out of that parking lot or not. And yet the car still hesitates like it can't see. So I'm not 100% certain why it does that there, but that continues to be a pain point. And I did intervene in the throttle too there, just so you're aware. A nice confident left turn there, no issues. Alright, so we should be making a right turn at this intersection here, which is 27th Avenue Northeast. Really nice job slowing down there very gradually, very human-like. Deceleration from high to low speeds continues to be a very good strong point of FSD Beta version 11, and that is still true for 11.3.4. So this intersection has some kind of, poor visibility. We are occluded on both sides due to trees and telephone posts. So the car will overly hesitate a little bit here, even though it is a four-way stop. But, I'm fine with it being safe on situations like that there, where it takes its time a little bit, even though it might frustrate drivers behind us. It is the right move. Okay, and now we'll be taking a left turn onto Marshall Street here, which will take us sort of into downtown, or get us closer, and then eventually we'll hop the river on the Hennepin Avenue Bridge, and then go into downtown through there. So I've kind of faked out the navigation, have it routing to another place that I typically go to. Slight amount of hesitation there as we kind of made that left turn, but the car didn't, chop the throttle at all anymore throughout that turn, so it was just that initial. Again, I think it's because of that driveway was right at the exit of that intersection there. The car is always very hesitant around situations like that, it seems like, and rightfully so, but in this case we're looking right at it, so if there's not a car there, there's not a car there. Alright, and I'm going to kill the navigation now. So now we're just going to go straight on this road now for maybe a few miles. And just in case we have any issues, we're going to set the navigation to make sure it takes us across the right bridge here. So you see the car likes to slow down. I've noticed this now for similar railroad crossings. We have some by my house. I'm going to continue to report that too. Previously, when those railroad crossings were clear, the car would not slow down like it did back there. But unfortunately now, for a similar type of crossing, like I said, I have one by my house, it does the same thing now, where even when it's clear, the car will slow down for it. So some additional training I think needs to be done and focus on railroad crossings and detecting when they're out of service and when they're not. The car seems to be overly cautious. Again, not initially a bad trait, but I just think where we are at in this development of FSD, we need to be a little further along there, I think. So hopefully that's a focus at some point, along with other signs. Maybe they can kind of throw it into the same sprint when they do their training on those, like reading more like signs like no turn on red signs and additional types of speed limit signs and things like that. So. Alright, so we are just approaching our right turn here. We're going to have to cross this, white line here. And the car does a good job of using that. This is a very short turn lane here, so, and made shorter and more narrow by the use of the snowbank that hopefully will be melted in the next day or so. But great job with that right turn. Not one issue there. Good stuff. We got kind of an erroneous turn signal there. It maybe thought it was in a different lane and was merging over, but obviously it was just a faded road line there. So I've seen that a few times. It's not really a big deal, but it's just kind of a minor annoyance. I liken it to a new driver not really knowing how to use its turn signals yet. That's kind of where things are at with it, but it doesn't happen super often for me anyways. Awesome job carrying through the intersection and getting over. I was worried we were going to kind of be stuck in no man's land there. Great job creeping out. Got a bicycle on our left here that's coming, but man, super confident behavior there. And now we have, it looks like a construction zone we have to kind of navigate here. Let's see if the car picks. No, we're gonna have to disengage here. So, car picked the wrong path through the cones. I was optimistic after that turn there, but unfortunately not so much there. So I'm gonna just nudge the car here. We have a car behind us here. Looks like they tore up maybe a water main or something like that. So all I did was press the throttle a little bit there to get it through the intersection, keep things moving, but otherwise not such a terrible job. Going back into those cones though, I didn't remember seeing if there was a sign for like lane designation, but if there was, that's something I think another thing we need to add to the list in terms of properly navigating the situations. I think if FSD had a better understanding of just more signs in general than it does today, we'd be in a better spot. You know, the car would be able to make a little bit more smarter decisions and whatnot. Because right now, it's as a result of that, it's really reliant on what I think is very, very old map data. So, love this behavior here. Again, getting over, crossing that shared vehicle turn lane. That's exactly what a human driver would do. That's exactly what I would do. And then we'll be getting on here 394 west here in a sec. But yeah, that behavior there was something that 10.69 would very infrequently do, and it'd be very jerky on the wheel as it would do it. But now those shared vehicle lanes with the dotted lines, the car just drives right across them as it should. And that makes driving in the city a lot better because we have a lot of those around the Twin Cities. A little bit of braking for those lights there. I just nudged the throttle ever so much, but it's kind of interesting because most of the flashing yellow ramp meter lights there, the car's version 11's done a very, very good job in not falsely slowing for them. But I wonder too if there is some sort of factor in a time of day, because it seems like we are in rush hour right now, and I wonder if the car is more prone to stopping for those during rush hour. Just something to think about, because I've come across those at other times of day where the car no longer stops for them. It just proceeds past. So, not sure why we did that at that time. If anything, the lighting was better. It was in the dark, so it should be easier to see them as they're flashing versus, you know, being static or whatever. So, anyways, minor issue, but just one I want to call out. A little hesitant there with that auto lane change. One thing I've noticed with 11.3.4 is that over the last couple days, it's gotten a little more cautious with auto lane changes, where it just hesitates more than it did when I initially got the code on the highway. I've had a few aborted lane changes as a result of that, where the car thought maybe there was another, you know, vehicle coming into our lane that we were turning into and whatever, but each time it was kind of a false report, so it eventually went back and completed the lane change. But just something I noticed, and I do wonder if Tesla is able to remotely control behavior like that and adjust accordingly on the fly without pushing another update out. My theory is, my guess is yes, they can. And that's kind of why we see something like that, or things like that. But I also wonder too if it's because as they push things to wider release, they also dial the conservative behavior like that back, or turn it up. Alright, so one thing we just did there is that we got in the wrong lane, and that's been a map data issue, but unlike before with Navigate and Autopilot where the car would remain in the wrong lane, we now have the deep lane guidance module to kind of override that in most cases, and in this case it did the right thing, so that was good behavior. But again, the map data needs to get updated at some point. They need to start using this deep lane guidance module data to update the map data, because we would have a lot less interventions if that was the case. And then we have a really tight clover leaf here. We usually can't make this one. I'm going to let it go a little bit and see if it can get over. Yeah, and you can see it highlights it, but it doesn't move fast enough. Our signal should be on much sooner. Car cannot yet handle tight clover leaves. So it goes wrong right from the start. We should be slowing if we can't get over fast enough. And if there's any traffic there, I mean, it's a really tough situation, no doubt, because you're having to basically merge while trying to signal and make a lane change. It's very difficult, and there's usually varying speeds that you're approaching that at. So the car definitely needs to start slowing down sooner, signal obviously before it does that, and then from there start moving across that dark line, or be ready to move as soon as that dark white line goes away. Because if you don't move that quickly through there, you're going to miss it every single time. So, we're just not quite there yet, and unfortunately around the Twin Cities we have a lot of those clover leaves. So for right now, that continues to remain an area where I have to disengage the system. To compare against the previous functionality, though, the car would never be able to do that either. So it's not like we lost anything by going to the single stack FSD solution with this version 11 code now. So it's just one of those things that's still a limitation. But hopefully when they address clover leaves, they'll also address the merge behavior in general, which I think needs to get some more effort put into it. If you're merging onto the highway right now, the car will basically just follow the merge line and do some rough estimations on how we're going to fit in traffic, but it still has a lot of work remaining on it, and we're not using turn signals and things like that yet, so that's something that needs to be addressed hopefully in the future here. A little bit of false braking there, phantom braking. I'm not sure what it's. I think again it's the shadow from that overpass there. It was just noticeable enough where it got my attention, but it wasn't like grenading the brakes completely there. So I think we dropped maybe 3 or 4 miles per hour max through that section back there. But one thing that's been interesting is I've noticed that behavior in that same spot before. So it tends to lead me to believe that it is related to the shadow. But not 100% obviously, but that's my suspicion. And I'm going to signal to get over early to get out of the passing lane here. So I do like the assertive driving profile, but the one thing that I still am a little annoyed with, obviously it's a version 1 of single stack FSD, but one thing that I do miss with Navigate Autopilot, probably the only thing, is the ability to exit the passing lane and make that a setting that we can turn on or off. That's something that needs to come back at some point in some way, shape, or form. Because the car will respond to cars from behind in other driver profiles. So if you're in chill or average, the car will exit the passing lane. Obviously chill will do it pretty much right away. Average will do it, as needed, or a little less aggressively. But in assertive, there is no behavior like that. The car will only make lane change out of the left lane unless it's only if it's for a route change. If there's not a route change, the car will stay put in the left lane. So hopefully, that's something that's being addressed. I know I'm not the only one complaining about that. So hopefully a lot of folks are, it seems like are being vocal about that needing to come back. So fingers crossed we'll see that maybe in 11.4. Would be a relatively easy change to add and hopefully and make. So. Alright, so we've just exited Highway 100 South, and we'll be turning on to Edina Industrial Boulevard here in just a moment. But again, great behavior on this exit ramp. Car does a fantastic job. Now, comfortably slowing down. It's not robotic. It's very smooth. You see a lot of use of regen up here. Anytime you see green, it's regen, of course. But yeah, it's driving more like I would, and I really appreciate the smoothness that's been applied with the new driving, controls with version 11. Doing a good job creeping forward here. We are clear on our left. We have a car coming, but let's see if we're going to stop. We kind of hesitated a little too much. Okay, so we're clear now, and the car is now going for it. It's almost like it turned a little too much there. I'm going to report that. That was not necessary. That little brake input towards the end. Good job passing that turning car there and just getting out of that lane. We needed to make that lane change anyways, and that kind of prevented some issues there. So, all right. So I'm going to just nudge the throttle here. It doesn't like to turn into my parking lot really quite yet, so it's kind of an interesting driveway anyways. But anyways, overall, I would say just, we had a few interventions along the way. We also, had a few disengagements as well. We had 3 total. Right off the bat, Central Avenue Northeast continues to be a pain point for us. For whatever reason, the lane selection, woes continue there. I'm going to continue to report that and hope that they fix the map data at some point. And then on top of that, we had the one downtown with the construction zone, and then obviously the tight clover leaves. But overall, not a terrible drive. Pretty darn good. Continues to be one of the better releases I've seen. I would say this is my second favorite after 11.3.1 being my favorite still of the version 11 lineage. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.